The number 5 draft steal of all time, Dan Marino.
He had the aura of a starting quarterback. If you could order it up on your computer, Dan Marino would be the guy you'd want.
Let's get a drive going and score some damn points.
Throws into the end zone, and it is caught. It's a touchdown! Dolphins!
The 1983 draft will always be remembered as the year of the quarterback.
I don't know if there will ever be another year like the 1983 draft.
There was a glut of quarterback talent.
Baltimore selects as the first choice in the draft quarterback John Elway, Todd Blackledge, Jim Kelly, Tony Eason, Ken O'Brien.
Elway went on to 5 Super Bowls and won 2. Kelly took the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls. Eason led the Patriots to Super Bowl 20. But Ken O'Brien was a sack machine, and Todd Blackledge threw more interceptions than touchdowns in a checkered career. Incredibly, Marino, our number 5 steal, was the last quarterback taken in the first round.
We couldn't believe that Dan slid to number 27, and especially when Pittsburgh passed him up, because he was in their backyard. They had to know everything about Dan from grade school to high school to college at the University of Pittsburgh.
After a stellar career at Pitt, it seemed like a no-brainer for the Steelers and executive Art Rooney Jr. to draft Marino as Terry Bradshaw's heir apparent.
My father loved him. He loved Danny Marino. I have been phenomenally adamant and obstinate about taking Bradshaw. And my father felt that I should have had the same attitude toward Marino. And I didn't, because we had all the facts and everybody saw him, and I didn't feel I had to sell him.
Rooney didn't argue passionately for Marino, and with an aging Terry Bradshaw, Mark Malone, and Cliff Stout, the Steelers' brain trust felt they were set at quarterback.
Pittsburgh Steelers first-round selection, defensive tackle Gabriel Rivera.
Rivera's nickname was Senior Sack. He was a quick guy who they saw as another Joe Green.
69, Gabe Rivera. He's been playing better and better, I am told by the coaches of the Steelers, since he's lost some weight.
Rivera is the fastest fat guy he's ever seen.
Coach Noll says we built our team originally starting the defensive line with Joe Green. And I think we should go that way. And his thought process made great sense to me. I thought that was right.
Gil Bird, Jim Jeffcoat,
Dave Remington.
Marino kept falling and nearly slid out of the first round.
Pittsburgh's a big little town, and naturally there were rumors.
There was always the thought, as incorrect as it was, that there was drug allegations.
The theory is that a team that wanted to get him in the lower portion of the first round, and I'm not sure this was Miami, I'm not going to accuse anybody, was putting something out there to discourage the other teams.
There was a ability to check out to see if Dan Marino was on drugs or not on drugs. The test results were in the safe of Foge Fazio.
So when it came time to draft Dan,
next up, Miami Dolphins.
I picked up the phone and I called Foge Fazio, his coach at the University of Pittsburgh, and I said, what's going on? Why is Dan still up there? Because we couldn't figure it out. He said, Coach, I don't know, but take him. And, he's done some things maybe that he's not very proud of in college, but who hasn't?
What are you going to be like when you're 21 years old and you're the BMOC? I mean, you're going to have a few beers. You're going to do things.
The Dolphins select quarterback Dan Marino of Pittsburgh.
From the day he took over, you could see there was something special.
Dan Marino's the best quarterback who ever put on a uniform.
The first time he practiced with the Dolphins, you could hear the ball. I mean, it was nobody had ever been around anything like that.
He had the Joe Namath type of arm, and probably even better than Joe Namath.
I got some footage of Namath, and I put it next to footage of Dan, just to show the similarity in the way they deliver the football.
Perfectly thrown pass by Dan Marino.
Things had changed. Shula changed.
Things changed for the Steelers as well.
Fate really played a cruel trick, I guess, on the Steelers.
Gabe was doing pretty well. And here he, as the season started, the guy got into an auto wreck.
Rivera was legally drunk, traveling at a high rate of speed when he lost control of his vehicle.
He goes out of the back end of a Nissan, and his big body, gets caught through the back window, and it severs the spine.
Rivera's career was over after just 6 games, and Pittsburgh will always wonder what might have been. 1 year later, the Steelers and Dolphins met in the AFC Championship. Terry Bradshaw had retired, and Mark Malone was no match for Marino.
Well, if the Dolphins get in, it's all over. He looks, lofts in the corner of the end zone, net for a touchdown. That's 4 touchdowns in the ball game, and that's a new record.
While our number 5 steal rewrote the record books,
Dan Marino becomes the all-time leader in pass completions in NFL history.
the Steelers never recovered.
Think about how different things would have been had the Steelers taken Dan.
The last 7 years, Chuck Noll made the playoffs just once, just unheard of. Was that all because they didn't draft Dan Marino?
My dad was really upset. He never forgave me about Danny Marino. Even to the end of the year, he died. Saying you should have taken Marino.